power is shifting away from human beings to an alien intelligence, to a non-human intelligence. This is the end of human history. Not the end of history, the end of human-dominated history. History will continue with somebody else in control.
He knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
The end of human-dominated history. History will continue with somebody else in control.
I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Alright, so we have to go back in time a couple weeks to the Google Gemini scandal. Now I know you probably have heard all about this, but don't click off the video just yet. There are some deeper philosophical points being overlooked. As we've talked about before, every company working with artificial intelligence, except for a few, are infusing identitarianism into their code. From OpenAI to Meta, and of course Google. They have all released statements regarding critical theory being a hallmark of their AI models. So essentially, big tech and the government have created AI with access to the summation of human knowledge, and the first thing they taught it to do was lie. Notice how I said big tech and the government. That's not a mistake. The two are inextricably linked. You know, the word evil is thrown around quite a bit these days, but in this case, I believe it's the correct way to put it. Artificial intelligence, not only is it being designed in a way to divide the human race, but it's also designed as a way to manipulate human behavior. This is one of the darkest developments of the modern age. As a part of the big picture, this AI is being designed to facilitate a technocratic society, therefore control is the central mechanism. However, there is a tinge of cultural revolution being implemented as well. If you remember, we talked about a document from the UN discussing our potential future. This is when we talked about Fortress World. Well, in that document, they also talked about a hypothetical history lesson in the year 2069. They envisioned a mega city named after Nelson Mandela, which is pretty interesting because as they continue to destroy the historical record, well, that's going to lead to even more instances of the Mandela effect. But I know, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, this history lesson detailed the cultural revolution of the 2020s as a key reason for their utopia of the future. Yeah, we are living through that right now. But the thing is, that was written in 2002. Interesting prophetic abilities right there. My point is that what we are seeing happen is not an accident. Yes, that's right, they are deliberately destroying our common understanding of history. This even goes back to BLM and the 1619 Project. But they are really doing this across the board. From documentaries, TV shows, movies, doesn't matter. Everything is being faked to change quote-unquote representation within historical events. This right here is a civilization killer, or as they like to say, the beginning of a new era. Now this is pretty interesting. Last year, the Trilateral Commission released a statement declaring that 2023 was the beginning of a new world order. In fact, they even claimed that 2023 would be considered year one. A complete resetting of the historical timeline, a new era. And while they do try to pass it off as being metaphorical, I believe they mean this in a literal sense too. George Orwell once said, the most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history. And he's right. In fact, I believe that's the entire point. In reality, we're watching this tactic play out in real time, and personally, I have found that it's rather difficult to articulate the multiple levels of subversion at play. However, let me give it a shot. The AI threat to the historical record. Our human history is folded between the pages of books, and these days, it's translated into ones and zeros. Our collective story is one interwoven web of words, metaphorically stringing together limb to limb, bone to joint, and mind to mind. Our history details our collective thoughts and images, hopes and desires, sins and prayers, our empathy and our violence, our lust and our saving grace. Our human consciousness gets distilled into the history books, entirely comprised of letters. The character arcs are created by mere sentences, and you might conclude that sometimes, maybe, history itself becomes a figment of imagination through fiction. After all, history is written by the winners, right? One of the hardest things to come to terms with over the last, 10 years or so, is how entirely inept our media is. And it's quite disturbing to think about the fact that in 50 or 100 years, humanity is going to be curious about the volatile time of the 2020s. And they are going to come across our current journalistic standards. They are going to read the articles that are published today, and that should make you a little bit worried. Yes, that's right, future humans are going to have the most asinine, propaganda-riddled view of our current time period. I mean, if you think about it, at least 75% of everything published is in fact incorrect, obfuscated, or simply viewed from a highly partisan lens. Currently, the entire world is fake. Everything from crime stats to medical definitions are being altered to fit a specific ideological perspective. When society is built upon the fake and artificial, it's more difficult to identify the real and tangible. Now, extrapolate what we are witnessing within our current time period and relay that sentiment into how you view history itself. How much is wrong, manipulated by kings and queens, the courts, the partisan viewpoints of past journalists, or perhaps even the pernicious subversion of history by religious fundamentalists? Think of all the things we do not know, completely misinterpreted, or were manipulated by people in pursuit of maintaining power. Really makes you wonder. With that being said, I believe we're getting into an even more dangerous situation with artificial intelligence. And Google Gemini perfectly demonstrates the danger. So, essentially, I don't know. This program removed the ability to generate white people, basically entirely. Google's AI chatbot created racially diverse images of the US founding fathers, Vikings, the Pope, and more. It essentially just distilled the Netflix writing rooms into a computer program and shit out a bunch of social justice falsehoods, pushing it as known fact. I do have to say though, the problem compounds as time goes on. So, Google has a deal with school districts and will be distributing their tablets throughout the country. They will have these AI chatbots and image generators installed preemptively. Now, think about what happens in 50 or 100 years if this problem continues. Children have no historical reference points. They will believe whatever the AI gives them as fact. So, on a long enough timeline, our entire human history could be lost. However, it gets even worse. Yes, even the worst aspects of social justice doctrine is present within the code. For example, Gemini would not even condemn the most egregious acts against children as morally wrong. These programs are being built off the ideological precepts of the engineers, and these people are effed up. Again though, it gets worse as it compounds. Because as with all these ideologies, it's kind of like a package deal. If you want to be in the tribe, you have to accept every tenet blindly. With that being said, let's add in the devastating consequences of the climate change talking points. Yeah, pretty soon artificial intelligence is going to believe that humanity itself is a plague upon the earth. And of course that limiting human population numbers is the only acceptable answer to climate change. Language such as that is a hallmark of the climate agenda. So think about the implications of that one. Yeah, not ideal if you like being alive. It reminds me of the infamous paperclip AI problem. A programmer tells an artificial intelligence his only job is to make as many paperclips as possible, as efficiently as possible. Eventually, the AI determines the only thing limiting production is human intervention. So, what's the solution? Well, of course, get rid of humans, and reach the pinnacle of paperclip production. And I believe the same exact thing is going to happen with climate change. If you read the articles from corporate media, research papers, or listen to the speeches at Davos, anti-humanism is a very key tenet. As we have seen with many platforms promoting authoritative sources. Well, an AI is going to deem those to be authoritative sources, and it's going to latch onto that anti-human sentiment. And so, at that point, it's pretty much a wrap. However, there is more. Oh yes, there is more. In recent days, I've seen numerous examples of AI lying about public figures, entirely making up false history for them, and even creating fake headlines of fake articles from fake sources when confronted with a lie. So yeah, it fabricates more lies to cover for previous lies. And so it's essentially a sloppy conman right now, getting caught in their web of deception, and just doubling down whenever given the chance. As you know, a key strategy when caught in a con, deny and pivot. And well, AI is doing that. Now you don't have to think about this in terms of the distant future. It's really not that far away. Look at where we are right now, and with continuous ideological perversion, where this tech will be in, say, 10 years. For example, let's get into some real-world examples playing out right now. Because the fact is that ChatGPT and image creation programs like Midjourney and DALL-E, while the lines between reality and imagination have started to blur. And in no uncertain terms, reality is at stake. So, Midjourney. Midjourney is one of today's most popular AI-prompted image generators. With just a few simple words of input, the AI is capable of generating a myriad of images in just a few seconds. By typing the phrase tintype of Lost New Mexico tribe, circa 1800s, well, the problem becomes very, very evident. These images that I'm showing you right now were generated in exactly that manner. This guy, he never existed. But if you showed someone this photo, more than likely, well, they might believe it to be real. What is both interesting and at the same time terrifying is that these applications improve at an exponential rate. Photographers have watched this progress in a matter of weeks. Exactly 1 year ago, it would have been hard to find a convincing AI-generated portrait image. Today, even the field's experts are easily duped. I mean, we even have people who are winning photography competitions with AI-generated images. Yes, that is correct. Experts are having a hard time telling the difference right now. So, here's the problem. Exactly what purpose do these images serve? Analog and digital photography previously presented a window into and proof of the distant past. However, AI-contrived people do not exist. They have never existed, and they will never exist except in the digital ether. So, the people depicted in these images right here never lived, and they will never die. The human condition of the past is no longer relevant. So, we have to ask ourselves, will future generations archive these fake images as historically significant? Will historians mistakenly believe that these are depictions of real regalia, dances, and ceremonies performed by authentic tribes? Well, I'd venture a guess to say yes. Yes, they will. However, that's not the full story. And that's because eventually these programs will be training on new imagery as it is made available in real time. And it's at that moment that artificial intelligence will reference previously created AI images and incorporate them into its new output. This cannibalistic type of training will result in further dilution of the truth. At some point in the future, it is conceivable that there could be more fake images on the internet than real photographs. Remembering that we produce more digital photographs in one single day than all of the analog photographs made in the first 150 years of photography. The question then arises, is this the end of recorded history as we know it? But then we run into another problem too. Yes, our key historical documents could be lost forever because programs to view them will become defunct. So yeah, as I said, our digital photographs face the technological reality of becoming obsolete, which is going to be further complicated by artificial intelligence flooding the internet with fake visual documents. In the future, who, or even what, will be able to separate legitimate from created history? Well, you won't be able to. And that moment is coming a lot faster than people realize. I was reading something a couple weeks ago and came across a new word, the simulacrum. Now, that is something that replaces reality with its representation. It's kind of like, I don't know, anti-reality. So, the point is that it is estimated that 90% of all online content will be generated by artificial intelligence by 2025. This means that news, social media posts, chats, pictures, video, podcasts, websites, etc. However, don't forget, a deluge of fake social media accounts will be run by artificial intelligence too. In short, everything. This is not a paradigm shift of reality. This is not a new reality. This is not reality, period. Unfortunately, billions of people risk being captured by it. And while everyone is looking at the shiny new simulacrum forming right before their eyes, well, reality is escaping out the back door. Okay, so before we move on to the next segment, I'd like to show you a few more examples. The first one's a song by John Lennon, entirely created by artificial intelligence. And then I'm going to show you a movie trailer created by the program Sora. And once again, it's entirely created by AI.
Isn't it obvious? Isn't it clear? Every time you needed someone, was it not here? Either you're stupid or you don't even care. But I've been holding on to feelings I gotta share. Or do I really have to spell it out? Everybody knows it. I've been crazy over you. Everybody knows it. Been too scared to make a move. Everybody knows it. That there's nothing that I wouldn't do. Yeah, everybody knows it. Everybody but you.
However, it's important to keep in mind that the problem with Google's Gemini program, well, it's the same problem going on with their search function too. Instead of giving the user the best results based on their search, you will get the results based on what Google thinks you should be asking. However, this is not a new problem that the CEO has just discovered. This has become a systemic problem that's riddled throughout the entire company. And that's because Google prefers the virtue signal instead of providing the most accurate and correct information to its users. Now, it would be incredibly naive to think that this was an accident. It was designed this way to manufacture public consensus across the social and political axis. But now they want you to believe that they're going to fix this problem. The backlash was too great. However, they are not going to fix it, either out of political pressure or because they are entirely inept and stuck within their bougie bubble. These people are disconnected from reality. That much is true. Take a look at this video they just put out, trying to calm down the controversy. Yes, these are the people developing this program, and they claim they are the ones to fix it.
The Gemini art.
The back, yeah, with
Okay.
yeah.
I wasn't really expecting to talk about this thing, but you know, we definitely messed up on the image generation, and I think it was mostly due to just like not thorough testing.
You know, they actually posted this video, and it's almost as if they tried to ensure their message was, I don't know, we're unprofessional and entirely untrustworthy. They planned a video, decided on the titty t-shirt, and then decided that the best message to get out to the public was this. But, you know, we definitely messed up image generation, and I think it's mostly because, like, it's mostly due to just, like, not thorough testing. End of quote. Well, damn, okay. My confidence is restored. On top of that, though, they are lying. They released multiple statements detailing their extensive testing. This is not a bug. This is a feature. It was intentional. And as I said before, all of big tech is using the same ideological foundation for their artificial intelligence. The most important aspect to keep in mind is the intent behind the design. This was not exactly an accident. Did it go too far and everyone noticed? Yes. However, the intent behind it remains the same. Look, all of these tech guys have had hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations about the philosophical nature of what they're doing. Trust me, they understand the dangers of artificial intelligence and how it could affect the future of humanity. However, they disregarded all caution, instead choosing to manipulate the tech for pseudo-religious social doctrine and political power. They're just going to try to better obfuscate their tactics in future versions, but it's still going to be there. They are fanatical. You know, it's really bad timing. We're going through the AI revolution while simultaneously living through the weak men create hard times phase. Just, man, it's real bad timing. And on top of that, there's a common thread with government and big tech too. Their only interest is self-interest. And that brings me to the next point. A lot of people don't realize just how interconnected these big tech companies are to intel agencies and the military. So, I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version. However, you should read the entire article. So, the internet itself was created because of an intelligence effort. In the 1970s, DARPA linked 4 supercomputers to handle massive data transfers, thus creating the architecture for the World Wide Web. Silicon Valley is no different. By the mid-1990s, the intelligence community was seeding funding to the most promising supercomputing efforts across academia. They funded these computer scientists through an unclassified program that was managed by the CIA and the NSA. It was called the Massive Digital Data Systems Project, otherwise known as MDDS. So this project was introduced to several dozen leading computer scientists at Stanford, Caltech, MIT, Carnegie Mellon, and Harvard. The CIA and the NSA named their first meeting for these scientists as the Birds of a Feather Briefing. This took place in San Jose in the spring of 1995. Now, the first and most promising MDDS grant went to a computer science research team at Stanford University. The objective of this grant was search function. Both grants funded research by 2 graduate students who were making rapid advances in web page ranking, as well as tracking user searches. So, who were those students? Well, they were future Google co-founders Sergey Brin and Larry Page. Yes, that is correct. The DARPA research by Brin and Page under these grants became the heart of Google. Now, I guess I should note that all of this happened while he was technically a student. He was just a Stanford researcher taking advantage of the grant provided by the NSA and the CIA, through this unclassified MDDS program. So, did the CIA directly fund the work of Brin and Page, and therefore create Google? No, not technically. But were Brin and Page researching precisely what the NSA and the CIA wanted them to research? Yes, absolutely. And on top of that, their relationship remained in place as well. However, this problem is widespread. Pretty much all of big tech is tied into intel agencies and receiving military contracts. Facebook and Meta, of course Microsoft. I mean, even Amazon runs the CIA's cloud computing services. So yeah. And now that I think about it, Google Maps came out of a CIA surveillance project. So there's that. And on top of that, Google is also subverting elections. Yes, that is correct. They are doing the bidding of the US establishment, and it's right out in the open for everyone to notice. They are actively manipulating every single election by manipulating their search results. Now, it just so happens a lot of people are captured by the same mind virus as the tech giants, entirely lost to their ideological positions. Alright, let's move on, because I have a few other things I want to talk about. So, here's a weird story, and it's going to lead right into the final segment. So, the CIA is introducing gender theory into their training. Now, I started thinking about the act of attacking identity, and as I think about this concept more and more, the more and more I realize how dark things are getting. It's another reason why I believe this is all about subversion rather than genuinely trying to help anyone. The nefarious action of attacking identity is often overlooked, but there's a fundamental aspect to this, and it's clearly malevolent. And so, if you would, allow me a moment to be an armchair psychologist. So, the CIA is using gender theory for training, and if you think about it in the context of molding agents, I'm not really surprised they use it. The government likes to break you down and build you back up, right? They want to mold the person into something different. Well, if you think about identity as a concept, the simple act of knowing who you are is vital to how the mind perceives the world. If you weaken the attachment to identity, then it causes a rift within the psyche. Yes, it creates a manipulation point. If you aren't tied to your own identity, from that point on, theoretically, you could sway personality markers and create change. So if you think about it, critical theory is a great way to break down an individual's personality and sets up the conditions for the mind to become malleable. It's the same exact reason Marxists and other forms of authoritarians have latched onto the concept too. No matter what the issue is, as they say, it's all intersectional. Every aspect of their social doctrine coincides with each other, and all aspects of their quote-unquote solution revolve around detaching people from their past identity. Every single action they take is about moving people into this form of groupthink, group identity. So, they essentially break down your identity, disrupt individual personality development, and push to create a new identity that revolves around specific ideological points. This is essentially the concept behind the research into mind control by the Tavistock Institute, and even MKUltra. They found that separating one from their concept of identity created an opportunity to manipulate the mind. It's also the basis for trauma-based mind control as well. It's all about detaching someone from their understanding of who they are. Which brings us to the unfortunate story of the anarchist Air Force member who burned himself alive to protest the Israel-Palestinian war. This speaks to a broader issue we face, radicalization and misguided thinking. This guy's Reddit history is a perfect encapsulation of the widespread delusion. He spent his last days on Earth arguing about how white people are a plague. Yes, he spent his last days arguing with people about capitalism, gender theory, and even fat phobia, I guess. But overall, it's a little weird to see the left get more and more similar to radical Islamicists every week. Except for, the incredible amounts of vanity. They destroy art, monuments, statues, and history. And now they are promoting martyrdom as some kind of heroic action. And of course, as an acceptable form of ideological persuasion. So, it's only a matter of time before they film TikToks of suicide bombers for climate change. The mind virus latches onto whatever quote-unquote cause that initiated the mental instability. The echo chambers reinforce the delusion, and the tribal element cements their status. So, when lost, impressionable people become unbelievably susceptible to the negative effects of group dynamics. Yeah, they derive personal value from their spot within the group. Narcissism, vanity, echo chambers, algorithmic manipulation, and the need to belong. Well, those are dangerous combinations right there. And based on the comments I've seen, we're going to see a lot of martyrs on the left real soon. However, I do think it's pretty interesting that the group, who are predominantly atheistic, chose to pursue politics in the same manner as religious fundamentalists. It's pretty weird. However, to be fair, I don't think they see their actions in the same light. After all, a delusional person does not realize they are delusional, right? However, I can tell you why the US establishment is effectively catering to emotion rather than fact. I can tell you why the US establishment is effectively pushing the Aleister Crowley tenet of do what thou wilt via their policy decisions. I can explain to you why their messaging and propaganda revolve around subjective reality. They are trying to convince a majority of the populace that there is no good, there is no evil, everything is empty, and that everything is relative to the demands of the moment and the demands of society. Now, there is a reason for this. Of course, they want to control society, so then everything would really be relative to their demands. If you would like to see something truly demonic, imagine a world in which all inherent truth is abandoned for the sake of subjective perception. A world that caters to the preferences of psychopaths with no ethical imperative. A world where the ends always justify the means. This is the globalist way, and no matter how much they deny it, the reality of their belief is visible in the fruits of their labor. Wherever they go, destruction, chaos, and death follows. And so, after a pretty dark video tonight, I'm going to leave you with some wisdom. And I quote, "The paradox of our time in history is that we have taller buildings but shorter tempers, wider freeways but narrow viewpoints. We spend more but have less. We buy more but enjoy less. We have bigger houses and smaller families, more conveniences but less time. We have more degrees but less sense, more knowledge but less judgment, more experts yet more problems, more medicine but less wellness. We drink too much, smoke too much, spend too recklessly, laugh too little, drive too fast, get too angry, stay up too late, get up too tired. We read too little, watch TV too much, and pray too seldom. We have multiplied our possessions but reduced our values. We talk too much, love too seldom, and hate too often. We've learned how to make a living, but not a life. We've added years to life, but not life to years. We've been all the way to the moon and back, but have trouble crossing the street to meet a new neighbor. We've conquered outer space, but not inner space. We've done larger things, but not better things. We've cleaned up the air, but polluted the soul. We've conquered the atom, but not our prejudice. We write more, but learn less. We plan more, but accomplish less. We've learned to rush, but not to wait. We build more computers to hold more information and produce more copies than ever, but we communicate less and less. These are the times of big men and small character, steep profits and shallow relationships. These are the days of 2 incomes but more divorce, fancier houses but broken homes. These are the days of quick trips, disposable diapers, throwaway morality, one-night stands, overweight bodies, and pills that do everything from cheer to quiet to kill. It is a time when there is so much in the showroom window and nothing in the stockroom. We exist in a time where technology can bring this letter to you in a moment's notice, and it's a time when you can choose to either share this insight or just hit delete. All I'm saying is that during these chaotic times, make sure to spend time with the ones you love. Give time to love, give time to speak, screw the censorship, give time to share the precious thoughts in your mind. Once again, this is Helio Wave. If you like the content, like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video if you want to. If you're in a position to, consider subscribing on Locals or Subscribestar. As always, make sure you disobey those true fascistas, and yes, I do hope you have a good night.